Hey, this is BA, and we're back with W.D. Gann's Master Time Factor. Now, I want to slow this down a little bit and take it easy because there's, a lot of ways to hype this. There's a lot of hype about this. And Gann's Master Time Factor is really important, but it's not what a lot of people have been led to believe. Let's begin exploring this a little bit. Courses of instruction. And this was pulled from one of W.D. Gann's many advertisements. Okay. Some readers of Mr. Gann's books want to take up his advanced courses after they have learned all they can from his books. So right there, you can see Gann was selling books as kind of like a starter, if you will. Kind of like a primer, a background, for lack of a better word. 1936 Master Forecasting Method. This course includes his Master Time Factor and Cycle Theory, enabling one to make up annual forecasts 1 year or more in advance on the general market or on individual stocks. It contains all his new discoveries made from 33 to 36. For the first time, this method is in shape so that it can be taught by correspondence. Now, look at what he says here, Master Time Factor and Cycle Theory. He just doesn't say Master Time Factor. And that's very important. You just, it's not just Master Time Factor. We're going to get into that, take a look at that here in a minute. Okay? When this presenter entered the Gann field some 20 plus years ago, which was the late 1990s, this is 2016 when this video is being cut, everyone was looking for Gann's Master Time Factor, MTF for short. Okay. Things have changed, but people are still looking for it. In this presentation, we will find where it's at. Now, picture, if you will, this the internet. It was new back then. I remember my first computer I got. It was early 1995. And, of course, the first thing I did with the computer is open up an online brokerage account. That's the whole I had no knowledge of computers. I was kind of fearful of them at that time. And I opened up my first brokerage account, and that's been over 20 years ago. And back then, the internet was new, and there was a few what we'll call big names, and they were out there at that time, and they were, flashing, W.D. Gann's Master Time Factor discovered and all this stuff, and you'd read along. I was just starting out in the whole Gann field, and you read along and you're like, wow, and you had really no idea what was going on. Okay, so over the last 20 years, my perception and understanding of it has kind of changed and stuff, and I want to pass this along and share it with you because I think it'll really benefit you. So when you run across this stuff, you'll hopefully have a deeper understanding of what's going on than when I did in 96 time frame. Here's our first problem. Let's say the Master Time Factor is 186. It's not, but let's say it is. Hooray, we found it. Now what do we do with it? It is the application of the Master Time Factor that we really want. Even if we find a number, it would be like finding a golden key on a deserted street. Great, but where does the key go? Well, remember back to Gann's advertisement, he said Master Time Factor and Cycle Theory. Okay, he just didn't say Master Time Factor. Well, the Cycle Theory is where that golden key would go. The Master Time Factor is used to tie elements together. You need it to get Gann's number system working. However, you do not in any way need it to get Gann's planetary system working. And I've shown some of that already. Okay, I've gotten into some of Gann's planetary and stuff, and you don't need the Master Time Factor to get that completely 100% operational. The forecasts that I do every month that are up on my site and all that stuff, they're planetary. Okay, that's just planetary. I don't use to do them. I don't use the Master Time Factor, but yet I'm just as accurate as W.D. Gann. Now, in that, Okay, Gann used a number system, and what that is if you're familiar what shorthand is and longhand is. Longhand's kind of like if you go and you write a letter out yourself, and shorthand uses a bunch of symbols to kind of condense it and make it quicker, faster, and more potent. All right. Well, Gann's number system's kind of shorthand, and the master time factor goes into that number system, not the long planetary system. The planetary system's kind of involved, but it's where people need to start out so that they can build until they get to this number system, you see. I began studying, I was like, what? I just said that. I began studying Gann 20 years ago, and I'm familiar with the most books on the market. Okay, which I do. I know the authors. Either I know them personally or I know of them. I have never seen anyone accurately describe the master time factor in any measure. That's not because they don't know it necessarily. Some don't. But the real master time factor is far too valuable. There is, however, one exception. If you have watched some of my other videos, you already know which book it is actually in. Here it is. That would be The Tunnel Through the Air by W.D. Gann, specifically on this page. Robert Gordon's great campaign in Major Motors. On Sunday, June 19, 1927, Robert Gordon spent the day studying his charts and working out his cycles for stocks, cotton, and grain. He was short of Major Motors and was watching it very closely. On this day, he made a new and great discovery of a time factor from which he figured that Major Motors would decline until about June 30th, and then start an advance which would last until about September 16, 1927, when the company would be 19 years old, and at that time the stock would reach final high and would then go down to February to April 1927, or 29, he said. He figured that the stock should advance to around 270 by September 16 and made up his mind to watch it closely and cover shorts if it went down around June 30th and then start buying the stock. On June 30th, it declined, and he bought in his short contracts and bought for long account 500 shares of Major Motors at 192.5. He decided to pyramid it all the way up. On July 15th, he bought 500 shares at 204. On July 21st, and so on. You can read the rest yourself here. Okay. And this is from W.D. Gann's book, The Tunnel Through the Air. Okay. So it's right there, folks. It is right there. And you don't, it's going to take you a while to understand how to get this working and stuff. He wanted it to. Okay. But, I think a lot of people are out there, spending money on books to try and speed this up. And I do not recommend that because, there's no other way of really speeding it up. I've been in this field 20 years, and unless somebody gives you W.D. Gann's system, which is almost unheard of, if not impossible, then the next best thing is to just go to where the instructions are, the tunnel through the air. Okay. If you have gained insight from my video, subscribe so you can get the latest on my free market calls, forecast commentary, and teachings. Knowledge is priceless. Hey, this is BA reminding you that you can succeed. Bye-bye.